Hi there. Hey. This is Rose Muleva back again just to share some stuff with you. And thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, this morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I hope, you'll be blessed with what I have got to share. I've decided to talk about self-awareness today. Self-awareness is something that I've started practicing recently, and I was really blessed by somebody the other day, and it's interesting how you can get encouraged, how you can get blessed by somebody just randomly. So I was watching some young lady doing her Pilates, and I wasn't, feeling particularly, encouraged or enthusiastic. I'm normally a sort of a really enthusiastic person and, well motivated, self motivated. But I wasn't feeling particularly, self motivated. But I was watching this lady doing her Pilates, doing her thing, her stretching, and, this, that, and the other, whatever they do with Pilates. She said something there, just in the midst of stretches. She said something that encouraged me. And, it encouraged me to just, pick myself up and, and just get on with it and just continue sharing what I've been sharing on my YouTube channel. And so today I've decided to look at self-awareness. And like I said, it's something that I've been practicing recently. I've started practicing recently, and it is really, really helping me in my relationships. And that's why I thought I would, share with you. Let me just get a bit comfortable here. Aha. There we go. And so I'll start with, what is self-awareness? What is self-awareness? What is it? And lots of definitions out there. The one of the definitions is when we see ourselves a bit more clearly. Some people say that that's self-awareness, or the ability to monitor your inner world, yourself, the inner you. And some people say it's the difference between how we see ourselves and the way other people see us, because there is a difference, in the way you see yourself and what other people see. And then, somebody also said how clearly, and I like the clearly because it has come in another definition as well, but how clearly we see our own values, our priorities, our beliefs, our aspirations, our values. And this can including feelings and behaviors as well, and strengths and weaknesses. And somebody also said self-awareness is a conscious knowledge of your own character and your own feelings and your own values and your behaviors. So being aware, basically, of who you are inwardly. Or some people have said a good knowledge. I like that. Good knowledge and judgment of yourself. Because to be honest with you, we as human beings have got a blind spot. We tend to think ourselves, sometimes a little bit higher than we should. And the Bible does talk about that do not think of yourselves more highly than you ought to. So it's a good knowledge and a good judgment of oneself, or being conscious of what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So I like all these, the definitions, they all bring something, but there's some words in there that I love that I just want to concentrate on. Clearly, seeing yourself clearly. So having a good judgment, a good knowledge of yourself will help you in a lot of things. And that brings me to my next point of, why practice self-awareness? We now know what it is. It's a good knowledge, it's a good judgment of yourself and seeing yourself more clearly, knowing why you do the things that you do. So why practice that? I talk a lot about relationships, and I know the area of sort of my expertise. And I must say here, sorry about that, that's my water bottle. I must say here, a disclaimer, that I am not a qualified psychologist or mental health person. I'm a nurse by profession, and I have done, in our nursing training, we did some psychology, we did some psychiatry, but it wasn't much. What I'm talking about is life experiences. what I have experienced and what my experiences with relationships and things that help me to better my relationship. And being self-aware is one of the things that I started practicing recently, and I find that this has helped me a lot in my relationships. And so why practice self-awareness? I just want to broaden it a bit more, because many years ago, I think it must have been in the early 80s, mid 80s, self-awareness was actually a big buzz in the corporate world, where they were trying to motivate employees. So employers were trying to motivate employees into how could they get more out of the employers, the employees. How could they get more from them? How could they increase productivity in say in an organization, for example, like the NHS, where I work sometimes? How could they increase productivity? And the big wigs, people with brains and things, thought, let's teach the employees to be more sort of self-aware, because if they're self-aware, they know who they are, they know their values, we probably will get more out of them. And so they embarked on a lot of seminars, a lot of teaching, a lot of training, of employees to be self-aware, and to improve leaders. Because if you have a good leader on a ward, for example, a good matron who's self-aware, who knows their strengths, who knows their weaknesses, they will be able to run that ward, that unit, a bit better, and they will get more, from the nurses, from the cleaners, from everybody, all their staff. They'll be able to get more out of them. And so they found that if people practice self-awareness, it increases productivity. This is an end product, so not like a direct product, but sort of an end product of being self-aware. And also they found that because people were practicing self-awareness, they were able to improve the relationships in the workplace. The workplace is a really interesting place, because you do find that you have characters. In fact, everywhere you go, there are characters that don't get on. They rub you the wrong way. They rattle your cage, and you find that you don't want to go to work, because you're thinking, well, I'm working with them again, and I don't want to work with them because I don't get on with them, and therefore work will not be done properly. So you get apprehensive, you get anxious, get stressed before you go into work. And of course, if you are apprehensive and you're stressed and you're anxious, when you go into work, you're not going to perform properly. You're not going to perform to the best of your ability. You're going to find that you're cautious in everything that you're doing. And if you're stressed, you're apprehensive, you're fearful, mistakes are made. And sometimes these mistakes have caused, some irreparable damage. They've caused, sort of mortalities and morbidities and all sorts of things out there in the workplace, especially in a hospital setting. You don't want to go into the workplace all stressed and all demotivated. So yeah, they found that practicing self-awareness, it actually improved relationships, because you were aware of what you were good at, and you were aware of what you're not so good at. And because you've become aware of what you're not so good at, you could actually work on and improve those areas that you're not so good at. And so self-awareness has become this wonderful, critical tool that you can use even in any relationship. If you practice self-awareness, you will find that at all levels, all relationships, be it love relationship between husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, partners, children, friends, all across, your relationships may improve. And if your relationships improve, you enjoy life. There's less frictions in your relationships. There is less confusion, there's less misunderstanding, because what sometimes happens in relationships, if the expectations and reality are so far apart, that you begin to have misunderstandings, conflicts, and of course, if there's conflicts, there's stress, and people become unwell, and down the line they don't want to go into work. They're off sick for so long, and if it's in the work at home, this brings discord in the family. Children start performing badly at school. A whole catalogue of things begin to happen. It's like a roll-on effect, and so self-awareness is a beautiful, beautiful thing to start practicing. So I started practicing self-awareness. And so how do you start practicing self-awareness? Because we're not born completely self-aware. Like I said earlier on, we do all have a blind spot where we don't see ourselves that clearly because we think we're always better than we really are. So sometimes self-awareness, if you look at it as looking at yourself clearly in a mirror, because if you've got a mirror before you and the mirror is all foggy, it's got dirt and speck holes and things, especially the bathroom mirror, you're brushing your teeth and specks and things go on it, and you look at it yourself in the mirror and the mirror is not clear, it's not clean, you will not be able to see yourself clearly. So self-awareness is like looking at yourself in a clean, really good mirror. So how have I been practicing self-awareness? I've got two. I know there's loads others that people say out there that, do this, do that, do that. But I've got really two that I do that I, help me see myself a bit more clearly. The first one is reflection, self-reflection. So taking some time every now and again to look back at things, to look back at situations, to look back at events, to look back at, circumstances or whatever has happened, to look back even at my relationships. I tend to do this a lot when I've had a conflict, when I've had, a run-in with somebody. I tend to take a step back and self-reflect. I'm a person that is very outgoing. I love having a party. If you know me, I love having a good party, dancing, laughing, having just a wonderful time. And unfortunately, if you are an outgoing person like me, you probably have had a lot of conflicts with people where you've probably said something that has hurt somebody else. And sometimes, like in my case, I found out that I didn't mean to hurt the person, but because in the process of saying, like the Bible says, in a multitude of words, sin abounds. And in this case, you've wronged somebody, you've said some things that has hurt somebody, and they get very, cross with you, they get, upset with you. And because I'm this outgoing person, upbeat person, sometimes I don't notice that I've hurt somebody. And I find that maybe somebody is becoming a bit cold, giving me the cold shoulder. And I'm like, what's wrong? What have I done? What have I done now? Kind of thing. But I've been so, so, so blessed that I've had people who have come and confronted me and have said to me that, look, this is what you said, and I was very upset by what you said, and I was very upset by what you did. And I found that, this was becoming like a pattern. And if you're not practicing self-awareness, you will find that you're going through the same things over and over and over again. And you're wondering, why is this happening to me? And this used to happen to me a lot in nursing school when I did my nurse training. I found that I was, in conflict with so many of my of my friends, and I was like, why don't people understand that I'm just a funny person? I like to make people at ease. I like to make people feel welcome, and I talk a lot, and that's how I ended up, having a lot of run-ins with some people. And since I started practicing self-awareness, I must confess, I'm not there. I'm not there. I am not there by all means, and I'm not nowhere near anywhere. But I have come a long way from those days of conflict after conflict after conflict. And in Zambia, as we say, ukulubulula, you're always sorting out things, and this one is not speaking to you, you're going to speak to them and trying to find out what it is, and you get tired of all that. So when I got tired, I thought, I need to do something. I need to start practicing self-awareness. So self-reflection. So I take a step back and I think, what have I done? What did I say? Who are the people that I'm talking to, and what led to that bit of, of conflict? And one of the ways that I do my self-reflection, some people do it mentally, but I write things down. I journal. So I have got a lot of diaries. I've got a lot of notebooks that I've been writing since, I think it must be maybe 10, 15 years that I've been journaling, writing my thoughts, my feelings of what's going on and what's happening and why did, what actually happened, how did I feel, and how do I hope to move from here. So that's my number one thing. I journal. I write a lot, I look back, and I always go back, because the thing I like about journaling is I can go back and read what happened, and I can draw further lessons from it. So that's my number one thing that I do, journaling. The second thing that I do is listening. Now, listening doesn't come natural to us. We're not a people that would want to listen. Some people are good listeners. Some people are not such good listeners. And so I make deliberate efforts to listen. I try and put my phone away if somebody is talking to me. I try and sit down and look at the person. It's not in our culture to look somebody right in the face. It's not a cultural thing, Zambian thing. But I try to at least look at them and listen while they're speaking, and then try to empty my mind, because we tend to be a people that if somebody's talking to me, I'm busy thinking, what can I say? As soon as they finish, saying whatever the piece, I'm going to jump in and give my bit, or give them a piece of, my advice, or a piece of my mind, whatever. But I try to empty my mind and not be judgmental, and try and listen. What are they saying to me? What is it that they're trying to help me? And if you listen, especially to the people that love you, your friends, your husband, your children even, as a parent, sometimes we think that we know it all. We can't learn from our children. We learn a lot. I learn a lot from my children. And just this afternoon, I've been talking to my daughter and listening to her and hearing her point of view. And I love our talks. And I told her, I said, I love our talks because I always learn something, because we're of a different generation. Therefore, I get her perspective. I get, the way she's seeing things. And the way she sees things is not the same way that I see things. And I can always learn something from her. So those are my two. I self-reflect by journaling, writing things down, and listening to my friends, to my relatives, my loved ones, because they've got my interests at heart. They do not want to harm me. They want me to improve. They don't want me to, always be, miserable and, being afraid to talk to people, because I used to do that. When, I have a run-in with somebody, I withdraw and I say, oh, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. They're just being overly sensitive. But it's not that. It's not that people are being overly sensitive. No, I have to learn to be self-aware, to know what kind of a person I am, and what I can bring to my relationships, how I can improve my relationships, how I can even enjoy my relationships with friends. Friends bring so much joy. They bring so much into our lives. And I have learned so much. I'm still on the journey of learning even more. So yeah, if you don't practice self-awareness, you want to improve your relationships, practice self-awareness. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you join me next time. God bless. Ciao.